Okay, in March of 2017, Docker came out with 2 editions. So it used to just be all Docker. Now you have Docker Enterprise Edition and Docker Community Edition. And this has started to cause a little bit of confusion in the marketplace as to which is which. So I put together a little slide deck here to go through exactly what the changes are and what that means to you as a Java developer. All right, we are here to talk about Docker editions. So Docker now has 2 editions, the Enterprise Edition and the Docker Community Edition. Now this was just announced, at least at the time of recording it, was announced on March 2nd by Docker, and that's roughly a month ago from when I was recording this course. Now, Docker Enterprise Edition is something that they're coining as a container as a service platform subscription. So this is going to be the whole containerized stuff, and in Docker Enterprise Edition you're going to get enterprise class support. There will be quarterly releases made of Docker, and you're going to get backported patches for up to 1 year after that release was made. So if you're running on release 3 and it's 6 months later, under this program you will be able to get patches going back for any critical things that are affecting you. And as part of Docker Enterprise, you also get certified infrastructure. So you're running certified containers and plugins, and so all the stuff is certified. It's not quite the Wild West that Docker is or has been up until now. Now, the Docker Community Edition is going to continue to be free. This is a free edition that can be used by developers and also in operations as well, where you don't need that critical enterprise support. Now, in Docker Community, there are going to be monthly, they're calling them edge releases. And on the edge releases, that's where you're going to get all the latest features and stuff that's just coming out in the Docker community. So that's where you're going to get those cutting edge features. And then you also will get quarterly releases that you can use inside of operations. So important to point out that Docker Enterprise is a paid subscription from Docker, while Docker Community is going to be free and continue to be free. And with this announcement, there's a change in how Docker is doing release number or their version numbering. And the last release of just regular old Docker was 1.13.1. And the first release of Docker Enterprise and Docker Community Edition is 17.03. And this is a change in how Docker is doing their version numbering. So they're going to year, month, the version, and edition. So let me show you what that looks like on my MacBook. So I'm running the Docker plugin, and we can see that 17 for 2017, March 3rd, 03, and it's the first release, and it's Community Edition for Mac. And just so you can help visualize how Docker is planning on doing their releases, this is a graphic that Docker has published along with the announcement. So you can see there at the top, we have Docker CE, and this is going to be the monthly releases of Docker on the Edge Edition. And then you also have the Stable Edition, where for the not so adventurous and they need a quality working software, those stable releases will be done once a quarter. And then again on the Docker Enterprise, down at the bottom there in green, that is also going to be quarterly releases as well. Now, the 2 operating systems supported, there's a little bit of a difference there. You have Enterprise Edition, so that's going to be all your big enterprise Linux distributions, Windows Server. So you have like Oracle Linux, SUSE, and of course Red Hat, and then as well as some other popular enterprise class Linuxes such as CentOS and Ubuntu, and Amazon has their own flavor of Linux as well. So Docker Enterprise will run on all the above. And then Community Edition is going to continue supporting OS X, Windows 10, and then popular flavors of Linux as well. And if you notice, one important difference there is paid Linux distributions such as Red Hat Enterprise Linux are not available under the Community Edition. You may be wondering why there's 2 Docker editions. Part of it is Docker's enjoyed explosive growth over the last several years. As a company, Docker has gone from a couple guys probably working out of a garage, if not more, to more of a mature company. And this is really a maturing of Docker and the technology to allow Docker to offer enterprise class support. So this is going to give Docker a chance to certify that the software that they are delivering to you in the Docker store, the Docker containers, are certified to be free of known critical defects and anything that could cause you a security concern. And stuff like this is going to be very important to companies like financial services or healthcare companies, where they are under regulatory compliance to certify that their platform, the software that they're running in their enterprise, is free of critical defects. And this gives those companies support, so if something does go wrong, they have somebody to call upon in the Docker organization, as well as having certified software where all known defects have been taken care of. If you're running Docker itself is still going to enjoy this, but it's the certified containers and plugins that are going to be missing from that stack. So you can go out to Docker Hub now, and it's literally the Wild West. You can throw anything up there. And as far as I know, to my knowledge, there's no filtering of that. So anything that you're pulling down from Docker Hub is really kind of a use at your own risk type thing, where Docker Enterprise is going to certify things for you. Now, you may be wondering as a developer which one you want to use. Functionally, the two editions are the same. There's no API changes. They are going to behave and function the same. It's more the certification and support that you're going to get with Docker Enterprise, which you're not going to have in the Community Edition. A lot of people may or may not know this, so CentOS and Red Hat are literally the same for all intents and purposes. CentOS actually watches the Red Hat repositories, strips out, copies down that edition of Linux, less any Red Hat specific code, and releases that. So the two OSs are literally the same, but with CentOS, you're on your own, where Red Hat Enterprise Linux, you do get Red Hat support and certification. So that Docker Community and Docker Enterprise are just like these two. Generally, as a Java developer or as a Spring developer, the Community Edition should be just fine. It still runs on Windows 10, it still runs on OS X, still runs on a lot of popular Linux distributions. The only gotcha you might run into is if you're running like Red Hat Enterprise in the workplace, and then you'll probably need Docker Enterprise Edition running on that, or revert to CentOS and you'll be fine. So 95% of the time, I think Docker developers are going to be just fine using the free Community Edition, and free, which we've enjoyed all this time. Okay, so now we have the two editions of Docker, Docker Enterprise and Docker Community Edition. And as somebody that develops applications for the enterprise, I see this as a very good sign, because what we are seeing is Docker as a company is maturing, and they're offering us better support, certification, so companies are going to continue using Docker. So I see this as a great sign for Docker's growth, especially in the enterprise. Docker's not a technology that's going away, so your investment in using Docker is definitely a good investment. And I see Docker as a technology that's going to be around to stay, because you are seeing it mature in the marketplace as it is now. So we still enjoy the free edition and all the features and functionality of Docker. And now, as I'm a big company and I have my mission critical apps, I have a certified software that I can go to, turn to, get that support from Docker, meet my regulatory compliance. So companies are going to continue using Docker, and we as Java developers are going to have a great tool set to continue working with.